Hi everyone, welcome to the Deep Psychology Podcast. I'm your host, Ross Edwards, and today we're going to continue with our October series on relationships. Specifically, today we're going to be talking about how your partner sees everything of you. Welcome to the Deep Psychology Podcast. I'm your host, Ross Edwards, author, coach, and podcaster. We cover deep insights into your psychology, helping you grow in psyche and spirit. Make sure to subscribe to Deep Psychology on Spotify or Apple to stay up to date. You can also visit the website deep-psychology.com, visited by tens of thousands of people every month for lots of free resources. If you want to go deeper with this work, you might like to do coaching with me. Head to the website for more details. It's time for today's episode. So, we are building today on what we have already started, which is this series. I think I might have said October series. I meant to say November series, of course, on relationships, called The Furnace of Relationships. That's the title of this series. Now, what I want to do is sort of give you the next piece of the puzzle, which is that your partner sees everything. Now, the converse of that is that you see everything of your partner. And so put them together and you can say that both of you see everything of each other. So I think this is just a crucial thing to realize. For so many reasons. For you to understand yourself and how what the relationship brings out in you. To understand your partner and what the relationship brings out in them, what your presence brings out in them and why. And also for you two to realize that everything that is occurring in the relationship is a reflection of you two. You have to take responsibility for that. If you don't, you're never going to sort of take the reins and take charge and really do what needs to be done to improve things. You have to take responsibility. And I know this is extremely difficult in intimate relationships because our tendency is to blame the other person, to not see ourselves, and to not really want to look at ourselves, and to go into reactive mode, and to just continue with the status quo. We have to really understand that our partner sees everything of us and we see everything of our partner. So let me talk exactly what I mean here. When I say they see everything, what I'm really saying is they see the highest you and they see the lowest you and they see everything in between. And of course, you see the highest aspects of your partner and you see the lowest aspects of your partner and you see absolutely everything in between. So the highest you, what does that mean? The highest you means your higher self, your higher purpose, your greatest motivations, your deepest views on life, your deepest interests, your great strengths, your great the wisdom that you've attained, the you that they see in moments of joy and inspiration and optimism, in moments of success. This is what I really mean by the highest you. It's like your higher self, the self that when you're experiencing it, you think, this is who I could be and this is within me and wow, I'm really just blown away by who I can be when I'm in this higher self. So the partner sees this. And if you look at some of your greatest moments together, this is when your higher selves were in operation most likely. Now, I don't necessarily mean the most romantic moments because romance is not necessarily a higher self activity. That can just be a result of romantic infatuation, which doesn't really require deep personal growth. Think of your greatest results together in your time as an intimate relationship. These are probably when you were in your higher self. Think of some sort of joint achievement or joint obstacle or joint moment of enthusiasm or joint moment of appreciating the scene around you, or when you solved a problem together. I don't know, the best moments you've had as a couple, this is pointing you to your higher selves. So your partner sees this, and we're going to talk about why they see it and why many others won't see it. So on the other hand, they see the lowest you, which is really the exact opposite of everything I said. It's the lower self. It's the childish parts within us, the parts within us that literally we learned when we were young children, the part of us that throws tantrums and starts screaming and starts blaming the other person and just whining and grumpy and all the rest of it. That could be it. The aggressive parts, the violent parts, your partner is more likely to see those than anyone else. We'll get onto why that is soon. But, those parts, your partner will see those as well. And the shadow. The shadow isn't necessarily a bad thing, an unpleasant thing, but in this case, I am focusing on the unpleasant aspects of the shadow. Really, all the parts of you that are you, that you do not want to look at and you don't want to acknowledge, this is your shadow. And in intimate relationships, it's really hard to overstate the importance of this. And I've noticed that even if one person isn't really clear about what shadow is on a theoretical level, and more importantly, what their own shadow actually is, or what some of their own shadow aspects actually are, wow, it can be a big obstacle to clear communication and to taking responsibility and to self-awareness, I might add. So think of the worst moments you've had as a couple, and you're likely seeing the lower selves in action. So, you're seeing the partner's lower self and you're seeing your own lower self. When we're getting into arguments which go into sort of basically trying to hurt the other person, making throwaway comments that you'll later regret, blaming the other person, trying to bring them down, trying to point out their blind spots without acknowledging your own blind spots, and all of this is the lower self in action, okay? And your partner will see it all. Let's talk about why an intimate partner will see both the higher self and the lower self in a way that no one else will. So we'll start with the higher self. So one interesting thing is that we tend to show our higher self, let me phrase it differently, we tend to hide our lower self when we're around people temporarily. So let's say when we're at work, or when we're with friends, or when we're with family, our lower self is often hidden because we're sort of putting on our social mask, and we're only, we're in a good mood when we go and visit people and when we meet with them for a few hours. We bring sort of the best of us. We sort of push all the uncomfortable stuff under the carpet, and we show all our goods, our good side, especially if we're in a group. If you're one-to-one with someone, like a good close friend, you're more likely to be honest with them about both the good and the bad in your life. And when you're talking about the bad, you're basically bringing out the lower self. However, when you're in a group of people, friends, family, colleagues, you're hiding the lower self, right? So from that perspective, that's why it's more likely that your partner's going to see the lower self, because you've not got that filter. When we go home after work, after meeting with people, after talking with family or whatever it is, we take off our mask. We don't do it consciously, of course, even if it's a very strong mask, social mask. But we take it off and we relax, and we don't have the same filters, and we don't have the need to impress that we do in a social environment. And so that's when the person really sees who we are, the intimate partner. They see us as we really are. And they'll also see us when we're tired, when we are having a bad day, when something has gone wrong at work, when we've had an argument, when one of our friends has pissed us off. What do? We are at home and we're sort of mulling over it and we're talking about it and all the rest of it. And that's where our partner is, and they're going to see all of that because they're around us in all of these moments, you see. And that's when all of your lower coping mechanisms come out when you're around your intimate partner. It's really just a matter of exposure. The fact is that they're exposed to you for longer and not always in the most glamorous situations. And so they're going to see lower parts of you when you're not so excited and you've not got your social mask on, you've not got anyone to impress and all the rest of it. However, on the upside, they're going to see your highest you. I mean, I have a lot of caveats actually to saying this because I can certainly think of plenty of examples where couples just bring each other down, and they do so to the point that their higher self goes underground when they're together because they're not allowing each other to express their higher self, and they sort of, for example, if one person has like a really creative drive, then the other, just out of sheer habit, might just remind them of all the terrible paintings they've done or the terrible songs they've written or something like that. And it might not be a deliberate act, but these things become habituated, and what once was just a joke is now actually sort of jeopardizing the higher self being expressed. But if you've got a close, intimate relationship with your partner and there is not like a huge blocking of the higher self between you, you're going to see your partner's higher self because you love them and because you appreciate them and because generally you want them to be the best that they can be. You're going to let them shine. And friends and family, you'd be very surprised. Friends and family, well, maybe you're not. You just have to look at your own relationships and that'll give you the answer. Friends and family are often really not on board with a lot of our higher self activities. You go to your family with a new business idea you have, and often they're just going to tell you you're in dreamland, this is never going to work, stick to your job, stick to your day job, that's proven, that's safe. They're going to bring all their own expectations in there, and they're going to do so to the point where they're not even really going to see your higher self. They're just going to see a stupid idea, from their point of view, a stupid idea that they couldn't possibly understand why you'd want to do that. In an intimate relationship, because we love the person and because we've spent a lot of time around them, we're more familiar with the higher self as well. And so we can identify it more, and we're possibly more disposed to helping that person act out their higher self. So this is what I mean when I'm saying that we see everything of each other. Because of the container of the intimate relationship, we see higher and lower of everything than other people do. And we are the person that sees it most. Again, if it's an intimate relationship where the two people are really separate from each other and emotionally distant, that might not be the case, but I'm talking in general here. In fact, one really important principle I have for intimate relationships is that your partner will see the worst of you. It's quite a frightening thing to see who people can become when they're around their intimate partner, because what you're seeing, during arguments and during moments of conflict, you are seeing literally the person's lower self in action. You see the person that will insult, that will blame, that will shun responsibility, that will castigate, that will shout, that will call people names, and will have no qualms about it, and will have no qualms about justifying that behaviour. Whereas, imagine you were doing that in the workplace. Imagine you were doing that with your best friend. What would happen? Well, it would cause a lot of issues. But in intimate relationships, this is really par for the course. And the simple reason is because the partner sees everything. It's not that your friends and family are seeing it's not that they're seeing the realer you, it's just that they're not seeing certain parts of you that your partner sees. This is a crucial thing to realise, because the intimate relationship becomes a mirror for you. You see what you're capable of, and you see what your partner is capable of. And you cannot hide from it. You cannot blame your partner. You cannot pretend it doesn't happen, because patterns will appear and things will repeat and problems will repeat, and those repetitions will show you exactly what is happening, and they'll show you your psychology. Your intimate relationship is like a perfect mirror for you in this way, in that it creates the conditions that will call forth your lower self quite effectively. And this is why often there's a lot of pain in intimate relationships, because it's where it's like our pain comes out, our inner pain comes out, our regrets come out, our deepest yearnings that weren't fulfilled, they come out. And this is all mixed up with many years of history with the person, and with, our desire for love and everything we've created together and all the rest of it. It's just a soup. It's remarkable. And I want you to really, really turn the eye inwards and look at yourself in your intimate relationship and be very honest with yourself. If you're being honest with yourself, this is an immediate corollary to this principle that your partner sees everything of you, is that your partner is the person who you treat the worst in the world, and you are the person whom your partner treats worst in the world. There might be some exceptions, but generally speaking, that is true. It's quite a shocking thing to realise. However, it's just a realistic look at the situation. If you look at your life and you're very honest, and you take full responsibility for what's happening in your relationship, how you speak, how you act, how you react to your partner, you'll probably come to this conclusion. With other people, you've got all sorts of psychological veneers going on. You're putting on all these masks, and you've got a lot of training from the social environment that basically helps you cover up these mechanisms, these ways of interacting. If you're very honest, you'll probably realise that your intimate partner is the person you treat worst in the entire world. So the empowering part of this is, well, listen, what I would say is, the extent to which you treat your partner well is the extent to which you will treat everyone well. So if you're doing a good job in your relationship, then it's quite likely that all your relationships are doing really well, by and large. And so this is why it's a furnace. It's like, do you want to grow? Well, here's an intimate relationship. Here's an intimate relationship. Show me what you can do. Here's the ultimate container for your growth. Show me what you're capable of. That is, you can conceptualize it however you want. But I think of life as sort of like a training ground. And the training ground is saying, you want to grow? Well, here's an intimate relationship. Let's see what you're capable of, and let's see how capable you are of growing. This is where I want to come back to the principle of self-awareness and self-responsibility. These were the two principles I gave at the end of the first episode of this series a couple of weeks ago. And basically, this is what is absolutely necessary for growing in the couple and for improving your relationship as an ongoing thing, not as just a temporary solution. These really are the solutions. It's self-awareness and self-responsibility. So in this context, self-awareness will help you realize how much is coming out, like all the different personality traits that are coming out in this relationship from both sides. Although specifically we're talking about ourselves, all the parts of ourselves that are coming forth in this relationship. And the more self-aware you are, the more you will be aware of how you talk, of your emotions, of the sort of your demeanour, your the actual words you use, how all of this differs from how you communicate with other people, and all the rest of it. And this shows you how much of your character is coming out in this relationship. And then we've got self-responsibility. So we're very, very quick to point out the partner's lower self, right? Very, very quick to do that. What's the problem? Well, yes, you might be right. The partner certainly has a lower self and you're probably seeing it more than anyone else, as I said. However, that is true of them. It's true of you, sorry. They are seeing your lower self more than anyone else. And so we're so quick to point the finger, but what we need to do is take that finger and point it right back at ourselves and ask, what am I doing? How am I expressing the lower self? How am I being insufferable? How am I making it impossible for us to get along? And how am I doing exactly what I'm accusing my partner of doing? If you're very, very honest with yourself and you bring enough self-awareness to this, you're going to realize that you turn into a monster. Your partner might turn into a monster as well. I'm not going to deny that, but you cannot control the partner. You have to control yourself. And of course, this is very difficult because you're working on the baseline. You're working on like the lowest parts of yourself. And this is the container in which all of those lower parts are expressed. And so it's like you're working on the very lowest aspects, and it's the most challenging work to do. Okay? So this is the key. It's self-awareness and self-responsibility. And this is really forming the backbone of this series this month is if you want to have a high quality relationship, both people really need to have some amount of self-awareness, and they need to take responsibility. They cannot pass the buck. They cannot point the finger. They can't just blame the other person, because that is just so self-deceptive. If you're both blaming each other, both of you can't be wrong, and both of you can't be right either. Both of you are creating the situation, and both of you are probably right. The other person is at fault, but you are at fault as well, right? And that's what you're not realizing, and that is what will really transform your relationship. So, just to round up, your partner sees absolutely everything, and your job is to see exactly what your partner is seeing. And yes, you don't want to do it. I know you don't. But you're listening to this episode, so I know that you're at least interested in this, even if it's going to be painful for you to sort of go through the process. But what I want to encourage you is that this is deeply empowering. It's scary, and it goes against our education. It goes against probably what you learned from your parents, seeing them grow, operating in their intimate relationship as you were growing up. But this is what needs to happen if you want to have a high quality relationship, which is really what we're talking about. We're talking about the fairness of intimate relationships and how we use them to grow, understand ourselves, understand the other person, and really create a high quality long-term relationship. So if you're into this, please come back next week, next Wednesday, for the next installment in this series on the fairness of intimate relationships. I'm Ross. Thanks a lot for tuning in, and I will see you very soon for the next episode. Thanks for listening. If you liked this episode, please leave a review and make sure to subscribe on Apple or Spotify. If you'd like to go deeper with this work, head to deep-psychology.com to do coaching with me. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you soon.